Today we are going to cover a fun topic called inheritance. Let's understand inheritance by taking the example of vehicle. When you think about vehicles, you have so many vehicles available for use, such as car, trucks, motorcycle, etc. But they provide a same purpose, which is transportation. And when you go to specific type of vehicles such as car and motorcycle, they have their own purposes and own characteristic. For example, a car has four wheels, it has a roof, whereas motorcycle has only two wheels and it has got no roof. Car also has specific usages such as commute to work and vacation with family, whereas motorcycle is primarily used for road trip and racing. So as shown in this diagram, both of these vehicles, cars and motorcycle, can be thought of as subclasses of a base class called vehicle. And they share the same properties of a vehicle class, which is to provide transportation. But on top of that same shared property, they have their own specific characteristics and purposes such as wheels, roof difference, and specific usages. So here you can say that we have derived car and motorcycle subclass from a class vehicle, or you can also say that these two classes inherit from a vehicle class. So that's essentially the definition of inheritance here. Now what we are going to do next is we are going to implement this same example in Python. So I have a Python pycharm code editor open here, and I'm going to write our first class which is vehicle. Now if you remember from my last video, the way you write classes is using a class keyword followed by the name of the class and colon, and then you start typing your methods. So here I'm going to create one method in my vehicle class, which is a general usage, and the general usage is, I'm going to say, okay, the general use of vehicle class is to provide transportation. Now I'm going to derive my first subclass called car from vehicle, and the way you inherit a class from another class is by writing the name of that class in bracket like this. So here it means my car class is derived from vehicle class, or it's inherited from a vehicle class. Here I'm going to write an init method which is same as constructor, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I am car. Okay, and I'm going to now define certain properties such as wheels is 4 and has roof equal to true. Okay, the second method I'm going to write is specific usage. So car has got some specific usage which is commute to work, vacation with family, etc. Okay, so this is how I derive my class from another class. Okay, now let's write our second class, which is motorcycle, and this is again derived from a vehicle class. And it's essentially, I'm just going to copy this code here, and here I'm going to say, okay, I am motorcycle, and the specific use will be different than that of the car, and the specific use here is road trip and racing. Okay, so we just derived two classes, motor and car, from vehicle. Now let's create some objects of it, and let's try to realize like what real benefit this inheritance thing is giving us. So the first object is the car object. So I'm going to say c is equal to car, and first print c dot general usage. Now notice that car class doesn't have a method called general usage, and still I can call that method. Why? Because I have inherited that method from vehicle class here. Since this car class is derived from vehicle class, I have an access to use all the methods and properties from my parent class. Okay, so think about this being a parent and these two are its children. So c dot general usage and c dot specific usage. Okay, now let's first execute this and see what happens. So when I run this here, it is saying I am car. So when I created the class object here, it executed this constructor, and that's why it is saying I am car. Then the second thing I did is c.general usage. So c.general usage was transportation. So as you see here, it says general usage transportation, and that's what it printed here. And when I say c.specific usage, it is going to print the specific usage as shown here, which is commute to work and vacation with family. So you can confirm that that's what it printed. Okay, now let's create an object of class motorcycle. So here I'm just creating an object of motorcycle class, and again I'm going to print the general usage and the specific usage. So when I run this, what happens here is it says I'm motorcycle, my general usage is transportation, and my specific use is road trip and racing. Okay, so key takeaway from this exercise is you can call a method or a property from your parent class using the object of your derived class. So these car and motorcycle are derived classes, C and M are objects of derived classes, and using those objects I am calling this general usage method of my parent class, and then you can call the specific methods from those subclasses. Now if you don't want to call this general usage property method explicitly, you can call that within your specific usage method. So here in specific usage method I can say self.general usage. So remember, self is an object of car class, and since it is derived from vehicle, you'll be able to call general usage here. And same thing you can do in motorcycle class. So self.general usage. Okay, so here I'm creating an instance of car and motorcycle class and just calling specific usage method. So if I execute this, I get the same output as what we saw previously. So it calls specific usage method, then it comes here, it calls general usage method, which is this guy, and then it calls the specific usage code. Okay, that was a simple way to illustrate inheritance using vehicle example. If you have any doubts or any questions, please post in the comments below. Next section we are covering is the benefits of inheritance. There are three primary benefits of inheritance. Number one is code reuse. As you saw in this example of vehicle, you can reuse the code of your parent class. So let's say when you're programming in Python and someone has written a class already, and you want to use all the code in that class, but on top of that you want to do some customizations of your own, then using inheritance you can do that easily. That's why it provides a code reuse. The second benefit is extensibility, and it kind of overlaps with this first benefit that we just talked about. In vehicle example, we extended our vehicle class to derive new classes such as car and motorcycle. The third benefit is readability. It provides a very nice structure to your program, especially when you're writing a big program. You want your code to be such that it remains readable. Because if the code is simple, few lines, it's easy to read. But if the code is less million line of code, it's very hard to read it for troubleshooting purpose and for developing new features. Using inheritance, you will be able to gain this readability as it will provide a nice and uniform structure to your program. Okay, one last thing we want to quickly cover is instance and is subclass methods. So here in the same example, what I'm going to do is, so I just created two class objects. I'm not going to call any method here. So I have car instance and motorcycle instance, and let me first call is instance method. So is instance is a built-in function available in Python, and what it will do is it will tell you if an object is an instance of a specific class or not. For example, here C is an instance of our car class. So when I run this, and let me just print this. Okay, when I run this, it is saying I am car, I am motorcycle, and true. So the execution of this resulted into true, which means C is indeed an object of class. But if I do motorcycle here, it will say false because C is not an object of motorcycle class. Okay, so that is instance. Now there is another method called is subclass. What it means is if car is a subclass of vehicle or not. So you want to figure out if one class is a subclass of another, then just use is subclass method. When you run this, you get true because car is a subclass of vehicle. But if I say car is a subclass of motorcycle, then it's gonna print false because car is not derived from motorcycle. You know, car is more like a sibling of motorcycle. It's not a child of motorcycle. Okay, so that was all about inheritance. Thank you for watching.